Welcome everybody to the weekly share of Chassidus in English, right here in Chabad of Rechavia, Tuesday evenings at 7:30. We're smack in the middle of this special discourse called Inyana Shel Torah Chassidut, the Essence of Chasidus, and we're on page 88 and 89. The point of what we've been learning up until now is that Chasidus is the essence of everything, the essence of Torah, the essence of our neshama, and the more we learn Chasidus, the more we become in tune to our own essence, who we really are and what we're made up of. Now the question is the essence related to the other parts or is it not? On one hand, we say that the essence is just removed from everything else. So, for example, in the 5 levels of the neshama, nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, and yechida, yechida is the highest level, the essence of the neshama. On one hand, it's removed from them because it's the essence. On the other hand, it's one of the 5. So how are we supposed to look at it? So let's read the first paragraph of page 89. This is chapter 17. I'm just going to turn off my phone for a moment so it doesn't disturb us. Thank you. Bechinat ha-yechida, though the level of yechida, which is bonded with Hashem, lihiyota atzmit, since it is essential, Eina sholelet et hanefesh ruach neshama chaya. It does not negate the lower 4 levels of narnach, which stands for nefesh ruach neshama chaya. Adarabba, on the contrary, he ha'etzem shel kol madregot ha'pratiyot shezeu echad achilukim sheben gilui la'etzem. It is the essence of all the details. So you might say, on one hand, you could say, well, you have the details, you have the essence, 2 different worlds. So you can't say that they're all part of the same thing. But on the other hand, it is the essence of all the details. So in the 2 classical examples that we've been saying up until now, let's say the onion. You want to peel away the top layer, the next layer, the next layer, until you get to the quote-unquote essence, which is the core of the onion. So on one hand, you say that the other layers, they're just layers, they're just external layers, they're not the real thing. But then you want to say, one second, when you hold the whole onion, the reason why we call it an onion is because, true, they're only layers, but they're layers of the essence. So the essence is the essence of what? The essence of the onion of all the layers. So on some level, it's supposed to shine through all the layers.
So are we saying that the essence is goodness, the core?
The essence, in this case, is goodness. Usually, the essence is goodness. We're talking now the fact that yechida is the essence. And just like the question is over here, the question is anytime we say there's an essence. So for example, we have a person that is wearing a lot of clothes. The body, which is the essence, or you want to dig a little deeper, the neshama, which is the essence of everything which covers it over. So let's say the guy's name is Moshe. So this, whether he's walking in the summer or he's walking in the winter, no matter how many clothes he has on, it's still the same Moshe. So it's the Moshe which is shining and is being expressed through the clothes. Because if he's going to walk in the winter the way he's dressed in the summer, he's not going to be able to come outside. He's not going to be able to relate to the outside. So it's the same essence, it's the same individual, the same soul, nefesh. It's just shining through more garments, if you will. What's the difference between revelation and essence? Gilui hu inyan prati. Gilui is a revelation. It's an individual subject. V'lachein ha'inyanim she'enam gilui. Therefore, things which are not revelation, it's not him. It's not his. It's a different entity. So let's say you have, it's a very bold example, but let's say you have the sun. So the sun globe and the ray that comes from the sun. Now, the ray, it comes originally from the sun, but when it comes out, it's quote-unquote outside of the sun. It's hard to differentiate, but if you really get close to the sun globe, technically speaking, then you would be able to say, till here is the sun globe, and from here is the ray which comes in. For example, if you have even a thick curtain covering the window, and the sun is shining in the morning right through the window, because of the thick curtain, there's no question that the light, the sunlight that comes through the curtain is only a ray, only a shine from the sun. That's only when it comes to revelation. But when it comes to etzem, which is essence, that's really the underlining keyword of this whole discourse. When it comes to the essence, so etzem hu ha'atzmiut shel kol inyan v'inyan. The essence is the essence of everything. So sometimes there may not be a revelation per se, but if the essence is here, the essence is here. For example, it says that one of the proofs that the essence of Hashem is in this world is the fact that everybody says, Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem for this, thank you Hashem for that. The fact that Baruch Hashem, thanking Hashem is on the tip of our tongues indicates that Hashem is here. Now, would you say there is a revelation of godliness? It's questionable. Overall, unfortunately, till we have Mashiach, till the Beis HaMikdash is built, we don't really have a revelation of godliness. We can have an inspiration, we can have maybe by the Kotel, maybe certain places you really feel it. But generally speaking, in the world, at least I can talk for myself, we don't feel it. But the essence, just because there's no revelation, it doesn't mean that the essence is not here. Now one could say, what do you mean? If the essence of Hashem is here, of course you need to have the revelation. The answer is no. There are two different categories, two different concepts. One concept is revelation, another concept is essence. Revelation is a certain description. So, someone or something has a revelation of this, but it's not it. It's a revelation of it. The essence is the thing itself. The thing itself is there. And it's such a powerful point because sometimes a person can feel down by themselves. And a person can say, I'm not really connected, I don't see revelation, maybe I'm not worthy, etc., etc. But then you come and tell the person, 1 second, it's okay if you don't see it, it's okay if you don't have such a quote-unquote revelation. Because the revelation, either it's there or it's not there, but the essence is here. In other words, you can connect to the individual themselves. So for example, when Arik Sharon, the first time he was introduced to the Rebbe was when the Rebbe wrote him a letter. It's printed after his son was killed, I think in the first Lebanon War, I think in the 82. Apparently he was terribly broken. He couldn't come to terms with it. And the Rebbe wrote him a letter. In this letter, it's a very powerful letter because the Rebbe explains the whole idea of a neshama. The Rebbe explains that no bullet in the world can kill the neshama. The neshama is there. The neshama remains forever connected to its dear ones. And that's the idea of a neshama. The neshama is is the essence of the individual. So the body is important, but the neshama is there. The neshama is there all the time. And so that's an example of a human being being able to connect to something which is totally beyond them. Like how is a human being supposed to connect to spirituality? It's a neshama, spirituality. Nonetheless, the Rebbe says clearly that a person can and should look for opportunities to connect to the essence, to Hashem, to their own neshama. Let's finish off this paragraph. V'lachein, and therefore, mehahadgashot ha'ikariyot shebachasidutu ichud ha'pratim im ha'etzem. One of the main focuses in Chassidus is to bond, to unite the details with the essence. וגם הדגשה זאת תובן יותר מהאחריות שחסידות מכניסה בכל דלת חלקי הפשט רמז דרוש סוד של מודעני. And this can be understood much better from the life force of the Chassid that Chassidus infuses into the four parts of the Torah, pshat, remez, drush, and sod, that we said about modani. So before we go into the modani, let's first read this paragraph in English. Are there any questions before we begin?
I'm just thinking that the essence is a very amorphous type of thought. But I'm thinking of it in relation to, because it also talks about the Ein Sof.
We're going to get to that soon. We're going to get to that in the next paragraph.
So that being the essence, I think the 9 Sefirot are the...
above Malchut.
Are the path leading to Malchut that can result in a real peace that connects back to the Ein Sof.
Interesting.
And that's real peace with Hashem and its inner peace.
Interesting. We need to ponder on that point.
It goes back to my Kabbalah.
Hey.
Yeah. Well, the Sefirot tree. And the letter Hey, because that's the power of expression.
Okay, Yesher Koach. So we're going to start at the top of page 88, chapter 17 in the English. The Chasidic emphasis on the relation of the essence to details. Though Yechida is an essence state, it does not negate Narnach. On the contrary, Yechida is the essence of each of the particular levels. In other words, that's the beauty of Yechida. That even though one can think they're looking at it from above and Yechida is separate, a totally different concept, nonetheless we're able to bond the two, and the Yechida can shine through the details. Let's continue. That itself is one of the differences between the terms manifestation, gilui, and essence, etzem. Manifestation is particular, and therefore whatever does not correspond to its own specific form of relation is not it, because the relation is something specific, and if it doesn't coincide with it, it's not related. It's not it. Since it is an outward revelation, extension, it negates what is not consonant with itself. However, etzem, in contrast, is the essence state of any given object. Therefore, because essence underlies all the particular forms that are manifest, one of the fundamental emphases of Chassidus is the manner in which all of the individual particulars are united with the essence. This emphasis on the relation of the particulars to the essence will be even better understood in a moment by considering the way in which Chassidus infuses life and vitality into the 4 levels of Pardes in Modani. So let's read in the Hebrew, starting from the Sod, starting from the esoteric level, the esoteric translation of Modani. Be'inyan HaSfirot, in relation to the subject of the Sefirot, Chelik HaSod, Gam Bechinat HaMalchut Atzma Miyuchedet in Sfirat HaYesod. Even also the level of Malchut is unified with the Sfira of Yesod. That's what we said, Modeh Ani Lefanacha, I thank you. Melech Chai V'Kayim, Melech Malchut, kingship, the way it's united, the way it's bonded with Yesod, Ad Shena'asim Unyan Echad, until they become one idea. Melech Chai V'Kayim. And that gives the power of Malchut to go down, so to speak, and to share the beauty that it has with levels that are less fortunate and lower than it. Ubemeila, and therefore, inyan ha'achdut she'inod milvado, eino shelo yeshna metziot ha'olamot. So when we say, oh, the whole world is godly, there's nothing besides for Hashem, that doesn't negate worldly matters. Ki'im, rather, shegam ha'olamot atzmam, k'mo shehem nimtzeim b'metziutam, also the worlds themselves, the way they are in their category, in their existence, umugdarim begeder zman umakom, and they have the category of time and space. Miyuchadim heim betachlis hayichud ba'atzmus orin tzad baruch hu. They are totally unified, the highest level of unification, but atzmot, the essence of the Or Ein Sof, blessed be He. So usually we say, one second, you can't mix the two. Either you have infinite light of Hashem, or you have the finite light of Hashem. They can't mix. Answer is, there are two levels of infinite light. You have the Or Ein Sof, you have the Blikvul. You're right, something which is higher than limitation cannot merge with limitation. But then you have, it's almost the same word, but it's a drop different. Bilti Bal Gvul. It doesn't have any type of limitation, including the limitation of Ein Sof, not being able to bond with finite. So that's such a high level which does not interfere between infinite and finite. Therefore, we can bond it too. And that's very special, to be able to make this bond between two seemingly opposite concepts. So that's the Sfirot. So we have now how according to the Kabbalah of the Sefirot, being that Malchut represents the lower worlds, and the Yesod represents the higher realm. If we bond the two, then they're not separate, and therefore, because Malchut is enrooted in the essence, therefore it's able to blend between the Yesod and the Malchut. We also have this blending also in the mitzvot, Binyan mitzvot, the next paragraph. Chelik Hadrush, it's the next part of like Medrash, learning in a deeper level. Gama mitzvot sheyesh aleim tam, also the mitzvot that have a reason, v'nikraim b'torat emet b'shem mishpatim, and in the Torah of truth, they're called laws. Nitachtim v'ikaram hu haratzon shalomayla me'atam. They become unified, and they're mainly higher than reason. So look at that. We have mainly two types of mitzvahs. One are mishpatim that are rational. We don't observe them because they're rational; they just happen to be rational, and that's only a little percentage of the real deeper reason of the mitzvah. Then you have the chukim, the statutes. So if you think about it, there are two different categories. But no, when we blend the two and we're able to have the etzem should shine, the essence should shine, that's really the whole theme of this mimer, the Chassidus, which is the essence, should shine through every word of Torah, should shine through everything that we do, then we can bond the two. There are two different types of mitzvahs, but they're both there to reveal Hashem's will. It's actually the Tanya from today. Today's Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says, then we do a mitzvah, we connect to the Keter. Keter is the crown. The crown is above the logic. In other words, we reach such a high level You think, what do you mean? Doing a physical, materialistic mitzvah. When I do the materialistic mitzvah, I reach the keter? The answer is yes. Because that's the whole point. Not to separate the esoteric level from the pragmatic level, but to blend them together. That the highest levels should shine through the most simple things. And therefore, Mashiach comes. Where are we going to receive this sachar, the reward? Where's going to be the main sanctuary for Hashem, so to speak? In this materialistic world. So people say, what do you mean? But it's look at this world. This is where it's all going to take place. The answer is yes. What's the big deal if we're going to separate the essence from the literal world? If we're not going to elevate the materialistic world and creations from Hashem. What's the wisdom? What's the catch? The catch is when we can blend the two together. That the infinite should shine through the finite. So it's a long job, but it's possible.
So Malchut could be the culmination of the unity of the intellect, the emotions, personality traits that man creates. And that's our personal sovereignty, and that's the finite. And then that connects to the Keter and Ein Sof for the same, to the infinite.
Correct. It's a Malchut is yet on a higher level, but ultimately you're right. It comes from Malchut. Malchut enables there to be a materialistic world. Therefore, if Malchut is elevated and connected with the infinite, then we can do that down here too. Let's do the English, middle of page 88. In relation to the subject of the Sefirot, divine attributes, which is the esoteric level of interpretation of Modani, Chassidus emphasizes the way in which the attribute of Malchut is united with the attribute of Yesod, until they become one thing, living and eternal king. Hence, the idea of oneness expressed in there is nothing else besides him, Ein Od Milvado, does not negate the existence of the worlds, but means rather that even the worlds themselves, as found within limitations of their existence and subject to the bounds of space and time, which really categorizes what the world is all about, are still united in a perfect and complete unity with the essence of the light of the Ein Sof. So that's as far as the Sefirot are concerned, the divine attributes. Now we're going to talk about with regard to the mitzvot. With regard to the subject of mitzvot, which was discussed in the Drush upon approach to Modani, Chassidus stresses that even those commandments which have a logical reason and are called in the Torah of truth by the name of Mishpatim, judgments, are united with their essential principle is the simple will that transcends reason. That's why we don't observe the mitzvahs, because we understand it. We still have an obligation to try to understand it, to make an effort, because when you fulfill a mitzvah out of reason, then it's more connected to you. But that's not the reason. That's not the excuse for doing the mitzvah. We do the mitzvah because Hashem said so. Period. End of conversation. In addition to that, we also try to understand and learn about the different interpretations into the mitzvah. It's so interesting that the Rebbe says over here that they are called in the Torah of truth by the name of Mishpatim. What does that mean? You may remember that we learned last week about Bereshit. How do you know the world is real? Maybe the world is what's the word? Is
illusion.
An illusion. Thank you. Maybe the world is an illusion. If Hashem is true, then maybe the world is an illusion. What's the proof? Because the Torah says in the first verse, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz. Hashem created, in the beginning Hashem created the heavens and earth. So what does that mean? That Hashem created the heavens and earth. So what's the point? That beyond the literal meaning of that, there's also a deeper meaning of it. But if the Torah of the truth says that it's called mishpatim, judgments, these are mitzvahs that are logical, that means that Hashem wants us to use our minds to understand the infinite. That's the chidush, that's the innovation over here. That we still have the ability to relate to while we're fulfilling the mitzvah, which are quote unquote logical, we can connect to the super logical, to that which transcends logic.
So it talks about the moda ani and the mitzvah. Maybe the reward for doing the mitzvah is gratitude.
The reward
for doing mitzvah. Moda ani is expression of gratitude.
Correct.
So maybe that's the reward, which is what this new course will talk about.
And that's interesting. Happiness. And that's interesting because Modani is the first thing of the day. The moment you wake up, you say Modani. So either it's a reward for serving Hashem the right way the day prior, or it's setting the tone, or maybe both.
So maybe gratitude is a sense of nowness.
Okay. Seder. Then where do we see this idea of unification in the creation? Be'inyan habriya, concerning creation, bottom paragraph, chelek haremez, gam b'nyanei ha'olam, thank you, gam b'nyanei ha'olam, k'mo she'en nirim leinenu, shabriya na'aset kvar l'metziut b'fnei atzma. When we look at the creation, which we just mentioned earlier, just about a minute ago, that it seems to us as if the world is an entity unto its own. Therefore, we don't feel the innovation in every moment. The innovation that happens to the person in the world every morning when we wake up is an innovation which happens in the essence of our metziut, of our being. Like the innovation of Maaseh Bereshit, the creation of the world in the 6 days. So on one hand, we have the world the way it seems to be quote unquote separate from Hashem. Because it looks like it's a materialistic world. Well, what kind of connection does this have to godliness? On the other hand, when we say Modani, what are we doing? We're revealing, look what's happening now. We're coming back to life. It's so meaningful. It's so beautiful that we're able to merit this moment of the Modani in the morning. So it really is bringing together the two ideas of the materialism and the essence of life.
And the infinite.
And that's infinite, correct. Final paragraph of 17. Be'inyan regesh ha'adam, chelek ha'pshat, gam be'odat ha'adam al chayuto shner mishnato. Even when a person thanks Hashem for his life, when he woke up from his sleep, nirgash shekol chayuto hu mashal yudi. It's felt that his entire life force is that he is Jewish, that he's a Yid. In other words, one can say, 1 second, you're a human being. So human being is one level, which is separate from the Jew, quote unquote. What does the Modani teach us? That it's not the body or the person, and then he has a neshama. It's one unit. And when you wake up in the morning, you say, "Thank you, Hashem, for giving me my life back." And ani, modeh ani, my essence. What are you saying? That it's not like there's me and then there's my spirituality. I am spirituality. Spirituality is me. True, we do have physical bodies and bodily features, but that doesn't take away from the fact that we are a part of Hashem, and therefore our life has to be a Torah life. Our life has to be a life of spirituality. This is why the Rambam says that a Talmid Chacham, a Torah scholar, you can tell even when he eats and drinks and sleeps. Why? Because a regular person, when he's in the yeshiva or in the Chabad house or in the kollel, he learns, does davens, whatever. And then when he goes to do his daily stuff, he can act the way he acts. But when a Talmud Chacham eats properly, according to how Torah wants us to eat, then the eating is a refined eating. The eating is a holy eating. It's almost like eating from the mizbeach, from the altar. It's special. It's spiritual. It's uplifting. Let's turn back for a moment to page 88 at the bottom. Concerning creation in the Remez view of Modani, Chassidus stresses that even in those aspects of the world in which it appears to our eyes that the creation has attained its own separate and independent existence, and thus we do not sense and feel the continuously new creation of the world. Indeed, the renewal of a person and the world every morning is a recreation of the entire essence of his existence, just as in the act of creation in the 6 days. And then we have number 4, as we learned just a couple of minutes ago, concerning human emotions, the subject of the plain meaning of Moda Ani on the level of Pshat. Chassidus emphasizes that even in the simple thanks one gives for his life, when he awakens from his sleep, it is implicit, the feeling that his entire vitality and life consists in his being a Jew. So it's a Jewish life. It's not a person that happens to be Jewish. It's a Jewish life. It's bonded as one. You cannot separate the materialism from the Ein Sof, from the spirituality. And that's the beautiful thread that we see in this entire discourse, especially in the last couple of chapters, where Chassidus comes and puts in its own beauty throughout all of the different details, different levels. We see the light, we see the shine, we see the unity that the Chassidic interpretation brings into the picture. Okay? Now we're going to do chapter 18, chapter Chai. That's nice. On page 91. According to what we said in the beginning of the previous chapter earlier today, Yuvanu divrei Rabbeinu Nesienu she'amru al kama ma'alos pratia sheb'Chasidus. Shezeu inyano shel Chasidus kanal b'tchilas hasicha. All the way in the beginning of this course, of this sefer, we said like this: there are a number of specialties that Chasidus has. Number 1, in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, the world was in a state of faint. And thanks to the Baal Shem Tov and revealing the Chassidus, the world woke up. We said that a Chassid does more than the letter of the law. We say that the Chassidus is, the specialty of Chassidus is that even the natural energy can become godly. And the 4th one was that every person, even someone who does not have a high neshama, can grasp godliness. Then in the 2nd chapter, the Rebbe said beautifully that true, there are a number of greatnesses in Chassidus. But what is the mahut, what is the essence of Chassidus? And that is that it's an essential point, which is a new light which has come down to the world from the highest levels of godliness. I'll give you another example. The Rebbe says in a letter, in the first year, unfortunately after the passing of the previous Rebbe, the Rebbe had not yet officially assumed leadership yet. So the Rebbe says, it's a letter from Gimel Tammuz. Interesting, it's the date of the Rebbe's passing. About, it's 1950. So it's 44 years before the Rebbe's passing. But the Rebbe says that what's a Rebbe? People, after the Rebbe's passing, people said, maybe this guy should be a Rebbe, maybe that guy should be a bunch. It's a short list of maybe 5 or 6 people. And then I remember we used to, till today, we show people this letter. What is the Rebbe right there? People ask, what's a Rebbe? So you might say the Rebbe is a leader, a special leader. Maybe he has great talking skills. Maybe he knows a lot of Torah, or perhaps the whole Torah. And there are a number of things that, well, is a Rebbe this or that or that? So the Rebbe says you have to look at the essence. What's the essence of a Rebbe? It's like an this is my an analogy. It's like an etrog versus a lemon. They're very similar, but sorry, if you take a lemon, you didn't do the mitzvah. You gotta take an etrog. There's no two ways about it. The etrog is the etrog. It's special. It's a beautiful fruit. It's something special about the fruit itself and different. That's what a Rebbe is. A Rebbe is a special neshama, a special individual. Now, does he know a lot of Torah? Yes. Is he a good leader? Yes. Is he a good speaker? Yes. And a whole bunch of other things. But all of those details are an extension of the essence. What's the essence? Who is the Rebbe? Rebbe is a special individual. Not to put anybody else down, but in many other circles, there's a fight over who wants to be the. I don't mean to put it in such a terminology. There's a discussion between the different sons who wants to be. And you have the Rebbe from Baruch. I don't want to say names of different Chassidus groups, whatever. It's famous, and it's not a secret. You have the Rebbe from Muncie, the Rebbe from Bnei Brak, and the Rebbe from Yerushalayim, and in Chabad, it's exact opposite. They're running away from being the Rebbe. They don't want the spotlight. But you can't get away from it. Either you got it or you don't got it. And the Rebbe is after the passing of the previous Rebbe, this was crystal clear to the Chassidim. He had two son-in-laws that were alive, and another son-in-law was killed in the war, unfortunately, several years earlier. It's 1950. And so you had the other son-in-law, he was actually the older son-in-law, very knowledgeable, good guy, good rabbi, very special. He actually was, throughout the years, he was so dedicated to the Rebbe because he understood. He once came to the Rebbe in the first year, or the first couple of years after their father-in-law passed away. He asked him a question. So the Rebbe said to him, "Why didn't you go ask our father-in-law?" What do you mean? How am I supposed to get an answer? He goes, "Okay, I'll find out for you." So next time the Rebbe went to his father-in-law's resting place, it's a true story. When he came back, he said, "This is the answer." So he said, if he could have a direct line with our father-in-law now, even after his passing, he could be the Rebbe. But it's not just coming from them. The Chassidim were able to identify and say, "Wow, this is a special individual." That's what we're saying now. The essence, the essence shines right through. You can't hide it. The Rebbe was very, very modest. He tried to hide it, but he couldn't hide it because it's clear. Especially when the previous Rebbe asked him to verbring every Shabbat Mevarchim. This coming Shabbos is going to be blessing the new month of Kislev, and so the previous Rebbe told the Rebbe he should verbring every like once a month, please. So even after he became the Rebbe, every time there was a Shabbos Mevarchim, the Rebbe said, "My father-in-law asked me to do it for bringing it. He's already the Rebbe for decades." But he always credited his father-in-law. My father-in-law said we should verbring on Shabbos Mevarchim, so here we're doing it for bringing now. Anyways, I'm just trying to convey once again and again, what is the difference between etzem, essence, and revelation. Let's continue. Ki af shema'alot elu hein rak mista'afot mimahut Chasidut kanal sham. Even though all of the other greatnesses and specialties are only an extension of the essence of Chasidus, as we said earlier, mikol makom, nonetheless, al yadan dafka mitbatet atzmut mahota. These details, they reveal the essence. Ki ha'hora'a al inyan atzmi hu shemefa'apea o machdir v'nimtza b'chol ha'pratim ad l'prat ha'yoter katan, that the what shows that this is something which is essential, that it gets permeated and mixed in with all the details, even to the smallest detail. Like we said earlier, the difference between revelation and essence. For example, oil. We said about it earlier. Talked about oil. On one hand, it's involved. It's basically the moisture, which every single object in the world has this oily. Sometimes it's dry, but if you warm it up, some dampness will come. That's basically oily stuff. And if you take a pot of water and you put in oil, it's going to rise to the top. So the oil is definitely the essence, definitely a very, very important liquid. But at the same time, it knows how to get into everything. Every single substance has some kind of oily texture to it. Something if you make it warm. When we say we have a rule that the beginning and end are connected. We had that earlier by the Sfirot. We had it by the Malchut is related to the Keter, which is so you have the beginning and the end are interrelated. We have this example many times. The lower Chasidus is drawn until changing the nature of the animal soul, which is the outside, so to speak, of man. And even lower than that, to elevate his portion in the world, chutza, outside, even outside of the person. That the lower you go, the more the etzem is revealed, because the etzem is the essence, which is the highest level, and the lower we go, the more the essence can be revealed. That also connects beautifully with what we said earlier. We mentioned just by the way that when Mashiach comes, Hashem's revelation dwelling place will be mainly in this world. How could that be? It's not a spiritual world. That's the answer we just said. That the lowest is related to the highest, and so the beginning and the end are closely related. So dafka specifically in such a world, in such a quote unquote low level world, right here, this is where the essence of Hashem is going to be revealed. Top of 93. Therefore, my father-in-law, which means the previous Rebbe, Shekol, is stressed in a number of his talks. That everything we learn in Chassidus has to be brought down, carried out in practical. Because Dafka, specifically through serving Hashem practically, that's where you grasp the essence of Chassidus. So some people will argue, let's stick within Judaism. People say, let's be all spiritual. Let's be, for example, before Chassidus came along, there was the whole idea of contemplation, like hitzbonenut. They have it today too, but it's much less than it used to be. So why is Chabad not so into what's the word for it? To go into the field,
introspection.
But quiet. You're right. Like quietly into a club, into the forest or something, or in the open field where no one else is there. Hitzbonenut and hitzbodedut, doing it alone. Because in Chabad, it's nice, but what's the bottom line? How is it being translated into practice? Not just elevating oneself to be at a higher level. Therefore, Chassidus, which is the essence, is the highest, needs to be carried out in practical mitzvot. Page 90, chapter 18. The beginning is wedged in the end. That's pretty. Essence is found in action. With all the foregoing in mind, the beginning of the earlier chapter 17, we can now understand the words of the Chasidic masters when they said that certain particular qualities of Chasidus constituted the essential idea of Chasidus, as discussed earlier in the beginning of this discourse. Though these specific qualities are only the ramifications of Chasidus, as explained there earlier, nevertheless, particularly through them is the essence of the nature of Chasidus expressed. For the indication of essence is that it penetrates and pervades and is found in all particulars to the smallest detail, as explained previously in the discussion of the difference between manifestation and essence. So we keep on trying to bridge between two seemingly opposite concepts. Essence, the highest level, and then it coming down and being brought out in the details. And according to the general principle that the beginning is wedged specifically in the end, the more that Chasidus is extended and diffused into the lowest level, even to transforming the nature of the animal soul itself, which is the outside chutza within the person, and then we go even lower through the purifying beauty of one's portion in the world, which is the outside of the external, that is external to a person. In other words, not external within the person, external outside the person. That's even lower. The more the essence of its nature is pointedly expressed. Therefore, the Rebbe, my saintly father-in-law, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, stressed in so many of his talks that every idea which we learn in Chasidus must be carried out in action. Because only through actual divine service do we grasp the essential nature of Chasidus. So in practical terms, when we learn Chasidus, whether it's once a week or once a day or whenever it is, we always have to think, and it's quite clear pretty much across the board, how can I carry out my mission in this world and bring the beauty of Chasidus into the world? What practical mitzvah can I do? It's not that Chasidus is some lofty, removed thing, but Chasidus is something which needs to be translated into practice. So in summary of what we learned today, we learned about the four portions of interpretations of the Torah, that through through understanding the underlining interpretation of Chasidus, what's the idea? The idea is that we're able to blend between essence and the details. It's no point. It's no big deal to remain spiritual, quote unquote, and removed from materialism. The big deal is to remain in the highest level of spirituality and still to be in this world. Still to elevate the world and not to say, "Oh, I'm not connected."
So it'll be Malchut.
That's correct. That's exactly what Malchut is all about. That's why Mashiach is called a king. Because king, it could be called Rabbi Mashiach. Why is he called King Mashiach? Because he has this quality of Malchut, of kingship, that is able to blend between the highest and, on the other hand, relate to the lowest levels as well.
Well, Malchut would also be, I think, a person's sovereignty.
It could be. I'm just talking about it on the global. Yesher Koach, thank you very much. Thank you, Mordechai and Raya. And this shir is being dedicated in honor of Refuah Shleima of my mother, Chava Leah Bat Chaya Sarah. Toda Rabah.